A man set out to settle every grudge of his life, all at once. He carefully arranged for everyone who had ever wronged him to be on the same flight. At first, his ex-girlfriend, who had cheated on him, didn't notice anything strange. But when her seatmate struck up a conversation, she learned something chilling. The bald man not only knew her ex, he had been one of the professors who had failed him during his thesis defense. The bald man laughed, saying the guy's graduation project was pure garbage, and that failing him had been merciful. Not long after, an older woman sitting nearby who had been listening in couldn't resist joining the conversation. Coincidentally, she revealed that she had been the man's homeroom teacher when he repeated college. She bluntly called him the worst student she had ever taught. As the stories piled up, a man in the row ahead recognized the older woman. He had been one of her students too, and back in college, he had shared a dorm bunk with the same guy. He remembered him vividly because the poor kid had been timid and constantly bullied. Just as the old teacher sighed about the strange coincidences, a hotel manager joined in. He used to employ the man when he worked as a hotel clerk, but after repeated fights with guests, he had fired him. Now even the bald professor was starting to realize something was wrong.
¿Conoce a Gabriel Pasternak aquí?
Sure enough, moments later, more passengers began to speak up. Everyone on board had a story connecting back to the same man. Meanwhile, the flight attendant, unable to open the locked cockpit door, turned pale. When she finally faced the passengers, she dropped a bombshell. None of them were innocent. It turned out that the ex-boyfriend was the plane's very own flight attendant. Shortly after takeoff, he had walked into the cockpit carrying a cup of coffee and never come out. The door was locked from the inside, and there was no response. Chances were, even the pilots had crossed him somehow. As the passengers argued in panic, the intercom suddenly came alive with his voice. At that moment, his ex finally confessed to her affair with his best friend, who was sitting just a few rows behind her. The ex-boyfriend coldly announced that they could go together. Since he had no idea how to fly a plane, his clumsy handling caused it to lurch violently. Everyone on board began to grasp the horror of the situation. But the one who looked the guiltiest was an old man, the ex's former psychiatrist, who had kept raising his therapy fees until the man stopped seeing him. It was his greed that had driven the patient into depression, and ultimately to this act of madness. Cut to an elderly couple sunbathing on their porch. Suddenly, a chill ran down their spines. The ex, who believed in never holding grudges because he preferred to settle them immediately, locked the throttle, aimed the descending plane straight at them, and accelerated. His parents could never have imagined that while other people's sons might drive home to visit, theirs would come back flying a plane.